Trek fans, welcome to our little show, Starbase 80, where I am joined by my XO, my number one of the greatest guys in the whole damn town. Ladies and gentlemen, it's Flobo Boys.
So glad to be part of the Weber Internet thingy because not only do we have to do good content, we are the best at Tholian casual racism. So glad to be part of the show there, Captain.
Yeah, there's so much Tholian casual racism to address today, and we will address it. We're going to do a nice quick version of the show. Kind of looking for those viewers with the short attention span. If that's you, I think you're gonna like this one. I'm not sure. We'll see. We're talking about. Let me give you the premise of our whole thing that Flobo and I do. I have been a Star Trek fan since I was just starting out in first grade and watching it in syndication, first run syndication. And Flobo, on the other hand, became a fan very recently, I guess would be the best way to put it.
Yeah, November 18th.
Mostly Discovery, selected episodes here and there of all the other series. And I like to get Flobo's reaction to these shows because,
for entertainment
longtime fans. Well, I mean, honestly, we're coming at it from both ends. Like I was an original Star Trek guy. I'm a TOS guy. You really know Discovery backwards and forwards, and we're meeting in the middle, and that's Starbase 80. Right?
Well, on our sister show, Commander's Log this week, I actually went back to the whole story about how I got into Star Trek Discovery. And I was like, man, this is going to be a legendary thing. Like when I get booed and flamed for supporting those Klingons, I'm like, you know what? I was innocent.
It's all Star Trek is how we feel here. I don't think there's any Star Trek. There's Star Treks that I don't love as much as others, but I don't reject any of it. And you're the same way.
Yeah, at least I tried to, man. Give it the old college try. You can rank them later on, but it's all
Yeah. I mean, you can like some more than others. Oh, let me take a look. You know something? I forget to do this all the time. Bing. I made it. Might as well use it. Feel free to join us in the comments. We are having a good time live right here. If you're not watching us live, be sure to join us as we're going out live. That would be 2 p.m. on the East Coast and 11 a.m. here on the West Coast, where Flobo and I are from.
Really nice.
We are talking TOS, the original series Star Trek. This particular episode is the Tholian Web. Very, very important episode. Have you heard? You had heard about this one before, Flobo, correct?
I heard it twice in the same context in passing. So when I talked about in Discovery, the season 1, we'll talk about that on Commander's Log this week about the mirror universe. Everyone's all like, "Oh, mirror universe. Have you seen a Tholian Web?" And I'm like, "No." And so this happened again this week. You're like, "Oh man, mirror universe." But wait. Have you seen the Tholian Web? No, we're getting it now.
Right. And I have to say, as I'm not a longtime member of the internet fan community. Like I joined about a year ago when you and I started doing Commander's Log. But I had been kind of a lone wolf up to that point. And I didn't realize, never really did the research. I never realized that the Tholian Web is considered the first episode of the mirror universe, mythology all through Star Trek. And it is one of my favorite storylines all through Star Trek. Probably one of the reasons why I love Discovery as much as I do is they did so much with the universe and really worth watching. This particular episode comes from season 3. Season 3, as most people know, was the final season of the original Star Trek, and they did a lot. They did a lot in season 3 to try to save the show, try to show that the show was really a great show and really should be done. But at the same time, they were fighting budget cuts. They were fighting the network. They were doing everything they could. This is a really interesting episode on so many levels, and we'll go over that. It aired November 15th in 1968. Whew. And let's go into that plot. Flobo.
It's 1968. I mean, was it the whole world black and white back then? That's a ways.
It was a long ass time ago.
Mhm.
Without giving away too much of my information to identity thieves, I was 5 years old when this came out.
And what was your mother's maiden name?
And
I
my
lived on Elm
cat's,
Street.
my cat's name was Funyuns. Oh, there goes my bank account. In the Tholian web, we start off looking for the USS Defiant, which is interesting because, of course, the name Defiant shows up so many times in Star Trek.
It's usually in distress, isn't it? Like, stop naming things that are Defiant. You gotta figure that out by now.
Just name it the USS Pinata.
I know.
Just cut right through it. The Defiant, when they get there, is glowing green. And my first thought was, don't get the Defiant angry. You wouldn't like the Defiant when it's angry.
Perfect.
Gamma radiation for us health fans. I should also warn you that Flobo and I love so many different kinds of like comic books and TV shows and cartoons and stuff. You're going to get a lot of references on the show. I always love to warn people about that because
it's always a bonus.
If you look at Flobo's shot, you can definitely see his Green Lantern battery.
Right, Green Lantern battery. That's me as a Green Lantern as a pop toy, and then I have all the DC comic superheroes on top.
I got all my junk. All right, so we've got we've got in this episode, the Defiant is in trouble. This is uncharted space for the Federation, anyway. We find out that's not true for everybody. And something weird is going on. So they put on their new shiny spacesuits. These are really, I like the spacesuits in this one. So much better than those ones that were made out of bedroom curtains in The Naked Now, which we watched a couple
actually
weeks
disagree.
ago.
I was like, will someone backstage be like, they have to go to space, but let's make it fashion. I know, glitter, sequins. Give me all the face I can. That's too high couture for me, man.
I love that idea. And here's Captain Kirk wearing the latest in shiny spacesuit. Beam me into fashion. So they get to the Defiant, and it's probably one of my favorite images. It is so depressing and gross to say this, but one of my favorite images is there's a red shirt choking the captain, and they both died in that position. That's awkward. Crazy.
Yeah, why not, man? I mean, it could be a lot more compromising if they were naked, but you're absolutely right. Choking your boss out while dying is the worst.
I mean, anybody who's worked in Baskin Robbins knows how it feels. Okay. As we were talking about the space fashions. Amen. Yes. We have what appears to be a bunch of people who went crazy, a bunch of people who were restrained, and things are starting to get a little weird, a lot weird on the Defiant, where the Defiant is not showing up on these sensors.
Yes. I was like, wait a minute.
Do you use the Mr. Spock pronunciation, which is sensors, or do you use the more common sensors?
If I said sensors, I think I'll be part Vulcan myself. Like, is he become an alien? But I want to jump in real quick before we get into like this plot. I love the fact we handled TOS, but I had enough of Paramount Plus and their the sound is awful. I'm like turning up to 250, going like, I can't hear anything on the show. I feel so old. But yes, I heard sensors, and I was like, wait a minute, that sounds kind of weird.
Paramount Plus, you gotta get your poop together, man. I'm watching the intro. I never skip intro. I always watch the intro, and my God, it's like, hey, what is wrong with your mix? My mix on this show is better than your mix on these remastered. But I have to say, visually, I love it. I had never seen the Tholian web this episode since it had been restored and remastered with the brand new interstitials of the outside of the ship, the Tholians building the Tholian web. you know, the picture can be a little fuzzy, but they are blowing up a not great, look into really specific visuals. So I always give them that when it's a little fuzzy. But my goodness, what a beautiful episode. I really love the work that they did on this one. Did you like the look of it?
I was in the old web. I wonder who it looks like because again, I thought the graphics look good, but they still look out of place. I feel like a lot of times it's like too good for what's going on. So I want to see out the original series, but it's fine. The web looked like it was a real threat, so that was kind of cool.
Yes, yeah, and we'll jump to that because basically they try to get off the ship. They try to get off the Defiant. They are having the transporters are jammed up.
Yeah,
that's weird. How often does that happen? And
that?
They can only take 3 guys, and of course, Captain Kirk, being the captain, says, "You go. I'll stay here. You guys will come get me after." And they can only pull 3. They pull the 3, and then the Defiant disappears with Captain Kirk on it. And that's it. I was kind of blown away by everybody's like, well, he's dead.
yeah, that was kind of funny. It was like, you got the funeral? All right, going to the funeral. But let me ask you this, because you watched it when it was not live, but you watched it when it was running. It was season 3, the writing was on the wall. Did you feel like that was the end of Kirk while watching it? Do you really believe that was the end, or you thought he was going to come back at the end?
I feel like there had been a lot of shows like this from that era. So I used to watch The Big Valley. What did we used to watch? Wild Wild West.
Yeah.
There were a lot of shows that I watched that were from that era, and there was almost always, I guess this has happened with Kirk before too, where Kirk like disappears and now he's somewhere else and the ship has no idea where he is. But I don't think like that time, like he wakes up and he's a Native American and he's got Native American, girlfriend and friends and everything. Like
that's extra casual racism.
Late 60s, man. That's how we rolled.
Yeah.
There's nothing wrong with this. This is our tribute to Native Americans by painting William Shatner red.
Oh man, some poor kid had to remaster that scene. Jesus.
How red do I have to make him?
So dumb. I'm sorry. That's awful. That is awful.
It's awful, man. By all means, make us controversial. We really need the exposure. Hey Keith, what's going on, man? Ooh, a little fiber. Got to clean out those Jeffrey tubes, folks.
Yeah.
Brought to you by McCann's oatmeal.
Ew.
If you know, you know. So where was I? Captain Kirk is gone. Yeah. There have been episodes before where he disappears, but I don't recall them going, well, let's go do a funeral.
Yeah. It's like, all right. And here's the funny that threw me off. Like 20 people show up. Are people like, screw that guy. He wasn't that great. I'm gonna be in catering. Was he that much of a dick?
By that. I mean, in terms of like 3rd season Star Trek, that was a huge amount of extras. They had so many. This is one of the very few episodes of the original Trek where every auxiliary character is on. That's not every auxiliary character, but every sort of regular character. They're all on this episode. There's Sulu and there's Chapel and Uhura and Chekov and just so many people that we're used to seeing. And they're usually parsed out over different episodes. They're all in this one, which is really cool. And this just occurred to me as I was setting the stuff up today to do the show. There's so little William Shatner in this episode. Did you notice?
Oh, absolutely. The thing is, to be fair, the only reason why I know about that kind of stuff now is because of the Flash from CW. Because they'll have like super episodes where like, hey, where's the Flash? He's on vacation. The show is called The Flash. What vacation is he on?
To me, I mean, that's so funny you mentioned the CW superhero shows, because for me, it's always like, I haven't been watching Arrow, but I might like it. My friends like it. So let me just watch this episode. It's like episode 19 from season 2 or something. No Arrow in it at all. Just all the supporting characters.
He's recovering from last week's villain.
It's like, okay, you could have hooked me, but the star of the show is apparently vacationing this week, so I can't really get into the show. We get this very sort of laid on conflict where McCoy is mad at Spock and kind of accusing him of being like a social ambitious. He really wanted to be captain of the Enterprise, and he's making these bad decisions according to McCoy. And
right.
And it's kind of obvious why he's making these decisions, Spock, is because it's very dangerous for them to stay there. But Spock really thinks in his Vulcan heart of Vulcan hearts that they might be able to get the captain back.
Right.
They've got a very solid plan for it at first. And then what happens? Who shows up? The Tholians. What did you think about... Okay, I got to get his name right. It's Laskin, right?
Laskin, yeah.
Or maybe Lassin. Shoot, I didn't listen closely enough when Lassin was talking.
So I had to look this up because I had to look at the voice. I assume since the voice was female that it's a she, but I don't know if they have genders. It's not really clear. How do I say this? I feel like at the time it feels pretty lazy. Like, let's just make some crystallized spiders. What time's lunch? But the one thing I complained about on all the other Star Trek, there's way too many humanoid aliens in space. So I'm kind of glad it's a little different. I think about it, but in the context of the episode, I'm like, that just seems incomplete.
It's so funny because there are different times in the original series where the alien will seem like a very sort of alien being, and then sometimes it's just somebody in like silver pajamas. It's like, hello, I'm from this other planet, although I look like the guy who parked your car.
Oh yeah, like there's a whole race. Like, I mean, what Guinan or the Plutonians or what? They're just people. You're like, what? I'm in space.
I mean, I remember when I was a little kid, Star Trek was considered weird because it had Leonard Nimoy with pointed ears and the pointy, like they were doing stuff to his eyes too back in the day, and pointy eyebrows and it was like, oh, you like that show with the guy with the pointed ears? Well, I like that show with the Tholians that look like some bizarre, carved out of crystal, bizarre kind of looking creatures. And can I also say, I'm glad you brought up the voice. I was fascinated by that choice of a voice. And I think you're right. I think there's sort of like their gender is different from ours. So they had this woman. The woman playing the rough, tough, threatening alien. I love it so much. Barbara Babcock.
Sounds like a regular.
Barbara Babcock was a regular. She had been on, technically had been on 7 episodes of the original series.
What budget?
So in the Squire of Gothos, at the end, it's like, come on, Trelane, come on, Trelane. The mother was played by Barbara Babcock. On screen, that was off screen. On screen, she was in A Taste of Armageddon. She was in Plato's Stepchildren. And if you ever pull up any pictures of her, oh my God, what a beautiful woman. Holy cow.
Or a family show, John.
Well, one of the things that classic Trek did for me was usher me into really being a hardcore heterosexual.
Fully functional.
Exactly. Exactly. So the Tholians are very angry because they claim this is their space. And Spock at this point has taken over, and he's just very Spock. And he's like, yeah, I don't care. We're here. It's a rescue mission. Would you like to help? I love that. Yeah. At which point the Tholians are like, hell no, we don't want to help. Get out of here. This is our space. Go.
Right.
So they get an hour. If I'm right
And
about that.
change. I think an hour and 39 minutes.
Yeah. So they get some time.
Although I think so. I can't hear anything Paramount. No, okay.
I didn't take good notes on this one at all. So they get a certain amount of time, and they really strongly think that the captain will be interphased. I don't know. Not science, folks. It's TV science. And they'll be able to pluck him out of, the universes and get him back on the show. But we find out that was completely thrown off by the presence of the Tholians coming in and stirring up this unstable space. All of this is being described to us. None of this is really being shown. Did it make any sense, Flobo?
Again, this reminds me a lot like The Flash, when they come up with the gadget of the week to stop the villain, and the science sounds scientific enough to go, okay, but it's kind of an adventure. So, and it's funny that you and I both are kind of like, the notes were kind of weird this week. There's only so much you can write before you go, okay, they don't know what the hell they're talking about. Why? And now in hindsight, they built a whole mirror universe, so it makes sense. But at the time, it's kind of like, you're just writing ways to get out of plot holes, really. Oh, we can't do it because we need 20 more minutes. I mean, the space has been disrupted.
Okay. They're in this like wibbly wobbly, timey wimey, spacey wacy kind of thing. And it's like, yeah, okay, I'll take your word for it. Yeah, I mean, seriously, it's so funny how you're exactly right. They have other writers who came after have kind of justified all the things that have happened in this episode, which is so cool because this really should be an important episode. I feel like, I sound like Stefan from Saturday Night Live. This episode has everything. It's got screaming Chekov.
Nice spacesuits.
It's got Uhura doing basically her modern dance kind of acting. Like, I love Nichelle Nichols. I love Nichelle Nichols. Man. I love that she came from Broadway and she was a dancer. And let's face it, one thing that space shows always are lacking in is physicality. They're usually very, you're at your post, I'm at my post, he's at his post. Now we're talking back and forth. It's like anytime, one of the things I read about this was Nichelle Nichols loved this episode, because she was out of uniform for like 3 scenes. Yeah. And she was just so happy to be out of that Dacron mini skirt, mini dress, and just wearing some nice flowy, relaxed stuff. And man, she was looking good.
Oh, understatement of the year. I was like, go ahead there, leave Uhura. What's up?
She's got some style. That woman's got some style.
Oh, yeah.
Now,
I want to see.
People keep going nuts. Chekov goes nuts, so he gets lots of Chekov screaming. And really, Walter Koenig, just one of the best screamers in the history of the show. They use his scream all the time. And, I got to go backwards and throw up Craig's, I'm an alien. Can't you tell what the thing is? Hello, I'm from a bizarre other world. That's mostly
my uncle.
This is mostly like TNG, too.
Yeah, yeah.
I'm going to be on the Next Generation. You can tell.
It's like, oh, wow, far off planet.
So there's a lot of people going nuts. There's a lot of people just spontaneously trying to kill you, which is hilarious because they're trying to like work through it.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
I don't know if it's on purpose, but I feel like there's now that we're watching more TOS episodes, it does seem like some studios coming down like, hey, we need more conflict. And like, all right, let's have something to go over the crew in Act 1. And then Act 3, it realizes something came over them. And go. Just like another cheap well trick.
Yeah, you're not wrong. There was, it's like how there's almost always a brawl.
Mm-hmm.
That used to happen in, again, the other shows that I mentioned, the Big Valley. There'd always be like some bizarre brawl. Lee Majors was on that show. And of course, I loved him because he was the $6 million man. And he probably had got shirtless and got in a fight in every other episode. Wild Wild West. There was always a brawl. I'm going to go into this bar and ask some questions. Big brawl. I'm going to go in this museum and ask questions. Big brawl.
Yeah.
Welcome
It
to my
saves time.
fancy dinner party.
Again, I think I mentioned on Commander's Log that when you write, I used to write script screenplays for cop dramas. There's always a foot chase because it extends time. It gives you a sense of action and danger. And you don't have to advance the plot anything. And so you just have some guy run for 3 pages and go, "Was subdued. When's lunch?"
There's a really fascinating British show called Midsummer Mystery. It's been going on forever.
Yeah.
Older
Taggart
cop,
too.
older cop, younger cop. They're always hiring guys based on how they run.
Oh, I believe it.
For exactly that reason.
I believe it. The British shows are so weird, because, especially the cop shows, because British shows are either like 2 episodes or like 3 decades. And like there's a show called Taggart where the guy who played Taggart died like 15 years ago, and the show's still going on. Like, okay, England, all right, fine.
I see you, England. I'll tell you what, I respect England because they'll do 6 episodes and they're like, we're good.
Yeah, we're good.
That's our series. That's season 1. We're good. Just the 6. Getting back to the Tholian web, the Tholians are now very angry because they blew the deadline and the Enterprise is still in their space. And so they get another ship in. Oh, well, of course, there's a little bit of, phaser fire going back and forth, which as a child, that's what I was there for. I'm there for aliens and ray guns. It's all I wanted. The weird psychological drama that people are going through as they go crazy from this unstable space. I hated that stuff when I was a kid.
Oh, yeah.
All the acting.
It's like what Lorne Michaels said. He said the best SNL cast is the one you love when you were in high school, because you were just there for the jokes. You're not there for performances or timing. You're just there like, ha ha, he's funny. Good old Adam Sandler or Jimmy Fallon or I don't know, Gilbert Radner or whatever.
Bill Murray for me. Bill Murray to the nth degree. I remember there were a bunch of us when the bad SNL was on, and we were like, have you checked out this guy Eddie Murphy? He's quite good. I think you might like him. No, that's true. And it's very true with Star Trek too, because I do have such a big heart for this series, even though it's far from perfect. We've got
that's what I try to recognize too, or try to be fair with also with, because again, I came in Discovery, but I was an adult. So like Discovery for me will always be the benchmark, right? So I watch other shows and go, oh, this is slow pace. This is not my thing. But one thing I realize is that all these shows try to give you this proto fake science to chew on a philosophical level, wrapped in science with dumb fisticuffs. It just comes down to what flavor fisticuff. Are you strawberry? Are you chocolate? Like vanilla fisticuffs?
Absolutely. And what are you open to? That's always one of the things that I love with Star Trek. Like watching Discovery, and I'm watching. I'm like, I'm watching all these officers and presidents and diplomats and leaders of their worlds, and I haven't seen a man in like 5 minutes. It's kind of cool, you know?
I don't want to get into, I want to choose my words carefully, but there was a controversy a thing 2-3 weeks ago about, and I have it here, Orini Kaipara, who was like the first Maori or like a native New Zealand newscaster. And she has like the chin tattoos.
Oh, yeah.
And to me, it was a big deal because she was the first one on TV to do that, to lead the new news program with a chin tattoo. But I'm like, as someone who watched Star Trek, not to say it's science fiction, but it's kind of like we see so many different kinds of people that it's not a big deal for me. And hopefully this big deal today will not be a big deal tomorrow. So I am so glad I came to that whole world, because I didn't even bat an eye. I go, okay, whatever, you know.
Yeah.
So I can imagine if I was like in a town where everyone looked the same, I could be like, oh my goodness, she's different. Oh my goodness. So
right.
Respect.
It's so important, you know, that great story they always tell about Whoopi Goldberg. And I think we were just discussing this just last week, where Whoopi Goldberg was watching Lieutenant Uhura when Whoopi was little and saying, you know, Mama, there's a black lady on TV and she's not a maid.
Yeah.
It's so important to see these things. And once you see them, you go, yeah, that makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
That's not so revolutionary. That's just real. That's just people. And then you become more accustomed and more, you know, yeah, we're just people. We're anyway, one of the reasons why I love Star Trek, and they do it beautifully. We have
Because you
got.
hate Bones so much.
I was just about to talk
Oh, sorry. I
about
didn't catch your transition. I'm sorry.
no. You segued perfectly because once again, what is one of the major conflicts? One of the major conflicts is now that Bones, who is very vulnerable, as are most of the crew, I guess even Spock is. Everybody's getting really edgy because this unstable space messes with your ability to hold your crap together, and he's so racist to Spock. He is so racist.
Absolutely.
Well, your Vulcan brain is you wanted to be the captain all along, didn't you? Blah blah blah. There's a moment where he pulls Spock away from the bridge to watch a tape. I love that. That was left for them by Kirk in the case that Kirk might be dead and that they have to go on. And Spock, very unspock, so I think it's the unstable space, pushing his mood as well, is like, oh, this is stupid. Why do we have to do this?
Right.
And also, let's remember the idea behind a Vulcan is not that a Vulcan has no emotions. It's that they hold their emotions in, they handle them, they surf through them, they do not react to them, they do not play them up like everyone else, but those emotions are still there. Did you feel that with Nimoy? Did you feel that Nimoy was putting that edge in that everyone else was putting in? Maybe a lot, but did you feel that Nimoy was doing that? Because I wasn't sure.
In his specific interactions with Bones, I feel like he would have did a quip and walk away. And I think now he was actually engaging with them, something that I hadn't seen as often. But I couldn't say the other stuff, like even during the eulogy.
Yeah,
he died, moved on. That he was that bad. Like, we're over it. We baked the cake. It's in catering.
Which is so funny that he's the one leading the service too. I just like, we've got a funeral service. Let's get the Vulcan to
Please
run
don't.
it. Hey folks, get over it. Let's be silent for a while. All right, we're good.
He expired. Okay.
But that is a great difference that creates the tension. I don't know. It was good. It was not great, but it was still great.
Yeah.
They look at the tape. It's basically William Shatner doing most of the work that he does that in this particular episode, where he's telling them, you've got to rely on each other. You've got to support each other. Spock, go to McCoy, find McCoy, ask him for advice. McCoy, take care of Spock. And it's kind of sweet, and it does bring down their like anger at each other, and they do continue forward. I don't know, too much or enough? What did you think?
I think it's fine. I guess I was asking you about whether or not you thought this was going to be the actual end of Kirk. Because now that I know what I know, he's there. But like watching it in season 3, and if they're really killing him off, I'm like, oh, that'd be a perfect send off for him. He got stuck in a space thing. He left a message behind, and now Spock is a very capable captain. And frankly, when I think about captains giving orders, much like Picard, he's very like a you. So I was ready for the handle. That's why I was okay with it.
Yeah. This episode also really plays up the idea of the military drama. And there's so while the Tholian web is being woven around them, that's a very clear, the writing device, the writer's device of the ticking clock. Mm-hmm. They know once this web is completely closed, it will, I guess, shrink down to them and blow them up or something.
Yeah, I'm looking at constructor type deal.
And why don't they just fly away? Well, they can't because because the captain says we have to stay, and it's Captain Spock in this case. And a lot of people are like, "You're nuts. Kirk is dead. Let's go." And he's like, "Nope, we're staying here, and I don't have to explain myself to you," which I also think is very captainy, which I love.
Yeah, all about that.
So they are staying in the space. They're pretty sure they can get out, but they're not sure. and things are getting worse and worse because the unstable space keeps turning the guy next to you into someone who's screaming and trying to kill you. We start getting visions of Captain Kirk doing some really bizarre space work.
I believe the director was like, pretend they're on the moon.
And it's like his projection is so small. It's not the same. All of the special effects on this episode having to do with the phasing, putting the hand through the body at the beginning when he's reaching for a body and it's like, the ship starts to phase out. All that was done for $90,000.
And it shows.
And there, I mean, that's the thing. They weren't great effects at all. They were, but the guys did the best they could. It was a TV show, TV budget. What are you going to do? And they spent a lot of money on talent in this one because, as I pointed out, almost everybody's in this episode. So we've got Uhura, beautiful Uhura in her beautiful flowing gown with that big giant medallion she put on. It's like, I'm gonna relax, just put on my bling.
Yeah, exactly. Well, you don't?
Oh no, I do. I put on my Flava Flav clock all the time when I'm just hanging out here.
Oh, time to start base 80.
Boing. So then thankfully other people start seeing him too. Oh, woo! Because I was worried about Uhura, frankly. A little worried about Uhura.
I mean, if Dr. Bones was going to gaslight somebody, oh, by the way, we saw it too, asshole.
What was really sweet about this, though, is we got a lot of Dr. McCoy doing like the medical drama stuff. I don't know if you ever watched any of those medical shows, but this was very much like that.
Were you a Quincy guy?
Quincy was probably the best of them, but like the Marcus Welby's, the, a medical center, there were a lot of them when I was growing up, and they're all just like conversations beside someone's hospital bed. It's not an exciting formula at all. So I did like it here because just like I did write one thing in my notes, which was tenderness.
Were you hungry? Or are you just saying Bones?
No, Bones is just being so nice. He's just a good bedside manner. You definitely get to see why he's good at what he does.
I don't buy it at all. I'm going to unstrap you because I just realized you weren't nuts. Whatever. Like, he caused all the damage.
There's a lot of sweetness in this. And you got to give it up to Nichelle Nichols, too, for being so vulnerable. That like that big tear going down her cheek. I was just like, oh, I just wanted to dab the screen. Just, oh, poor baby, you're going to be okay. Greg Robinson joining us.
Thanks so much, man. Carried me last Thursday.
Hey. Oh, excellent. God, man, I'm so sorry I couldn't make that episode.
No. Do Captain shit. You know how it is.
I did Captain shit. So now everybody sees the ghost of William Shatner doing William Shatner acting. Oh,
I can imagine the director be like, all right, good rehearsal, let's take it. That was it. I am not doing it again.
You'll use that and we're good. Now I'm gonna go get out of this crazy spacesuit. It's very sexy. So they do finally get him back. Yay! Oh, I'm sorry. First, we have to solve the space sickness that makes everybody crazy. And what did you think of that solution, Flobo?
I was like, that's damn near convenient. There's booze and there's a shot. Like, are you going to have anal suppositories too? Why not have the trifecta? Yo, make it happen. That was quick as hell.
The way to solve this particular space sickness is McCoy has somehow a derivative of a Klingon bioweapon, a nerve agent. I'm sorry, probably not a bioweapon, a nerve agent that's deadly. If you dilute it and add it to booze, it's medicine.
Yeah. And Scotty's like, true to form. Hey, man, does it mix well with Glenfiddich? Like, what are you doing, man? Aren't you supposed to be in the military?
Yeah, it probably would. Yeah. I'm a boozer too. Sure. Yeah. That sounds right to me.
Aren't you at work?
The whole bottle.
Is your captain in crisis? You just almost died today. Okay.
Can I go down to the medical center and be like, I'd like a whole bunch of vaccine, please. I'm going to mix it with tequila. Come out to my car. I got limes, guys. We're going to heal ourselves.
I travel the world with limes in the back.
So there's this great little scene where they all drink their, like orange booze, and Scotty takes the bottle. And so that's fixed, and then they get Captain Kirk back, and then the weirdest long epilogue scene, one of the weirdest ones I've ever seen, where Kirk says, I left that tape for you. What did you guys think of it? I hope I hope it helped. And they were like, nope, never watched it.
Hate that scene. I hate it. It pisses me off.
Yeah. Why?
So I was looking at the chat here. Craig Lewis.
It's good.
Where no man has gone before, am I right? Woo! So the scene before that, right? Homeboy phases back and he's like, bro, my brain has been through different dimensions, and he gets the magical jab. I wanted the anal suppository, but fine. But then the next scene, he's like sitting there cross-legged, he's at the bar. So that was a trip, am I right? Did you watch my tape? It's like, you should be in sick bay? Just anyone? Okay.
How about Chekov? Like, Chekov is back. Like, I hope you're feeling better, Mr. Chekov. Never been better. Feeling good. You were missed. When you tried to strangle us all.
Did you watch my tape? It was good acting, wasn't it?
Right.
My agent loves it. Oh.
I hope you guys enjoyed the tape. That's really the hardest I've worked this season.
Stop it.
And then the thing for me is they're lying to him that they never watched the tape. I guess to say, like, don't worry, we're gonna get along if you're not here. We'll be here for each other. Don't worry about it. That's what we do. Even though they really needed that tape. Really needed the encouragement. But the thing that bothers me is Mr. Spock is lying. Big, long, drawn out lie. He says a lot. Later, when Vulcans are part of a lie, they just clam up. And that makes sense. But for him to be like, oh, yes, no, definitely. This lie we're telling you is totally not a lie. Yep. 100%.
Wink, wink. Dun, 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 dun.
Exactly. And that's what it was done for, too. It was done for the laughs, done for the cuteness. Because isn't there, I can't remember exactly, but isn't Shatner doing like one of these, what?
Right. He was doing like a little break the fourth wall type deals. It's like total Looney Tunes, like.
There's a very important element to this, and that's where we'll end, which is when something phases out of this universe, it obviously goes somewhere, and they don't go into great detail because they don't know. We find out later in the mirror universe stories. And really the more recent shows. So Discovery, as Flobo mentioned earlier, definitely refers to it, but also Enterprise. And that is what we're going to cover next week. We're going to do the 2-parter that next week and the week after that Enterprise did in the early aughts about what's going on in the other universe when the Defiant shows up. Now, unfortunately, there's no Captain Kirk. We were kind of, I don't know, that would have been cool, but
it would have been,
they tried to do that. They tried to get Kirk. I don't think it was specifically in the Mirror Darkly 2-parter that we're going to be watching the next 2 weeks, but they did try to get Shatner to show up in Enterprise, kind of boost the ratings a little.
Yeah. I
And
mean,
it didn't.
ratings one thing, but he's like synonymous with that whole storyline. I thought the whole show.
Yeah, it would have been so interesting. It never happened, and that's just one of those things. Enterprise is in so many ways a fascinating yet tragic show, and we'll get into that a little bit in the next 2 weeks as we cover that. Flobo,
yeah,
we are ready to pull out of this harbor and go into open space. So tell me, what do you got on your notepad that we never covered?
Yeah, the suits. No, seriously, are they walking tubes of Colgate? And why did they have nameplates on their neck? Were people stealing helmets? Was that? I am Kirk now.
Hey everybody, I'm Kirk.
Oh, he's coming.
Why does my helmet smell like garlic?
So stupid. What's up with Chekov's outbursts? If you're going to kill someone, screaming at them isn't the way to do it. If you wanted
not
proof,
very sneaky. Not very
if you wanted proof that Dr. McCoy was the best fighter, this wasn't it, because that was a weird fight scene. And imagine if you worked at a job where people randomly got mad and wanted to kill people, and everyone was like, send him to sick bay. He'd be fine.
Exactly. Hey, I imagine that's how it happens at Subway. That's just how I imagine. She went crazy and came at me with the avocado knife. Oh, well.
Yeah,
give her a break. Any tabs you opened on this one?
Oh, absolutely. I wanted to see if Chekov's wig was on sale on eBay. It wasn't, unfortunately. I was looking also who did the Star Trek fight theme. It's Jerry Goldsmith. Bam, 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 bam. Taggart actually got canceled 2010, so finally put that show out to pasture. And my favorite, Tholian singles in my area.
I'm telling you, look up Barbara Babcock. You might actually consider it. Beautiful, beautiful lady. All right, folks, that is it for this episode. We are going to fly out into space on our separate missions, me and Flobo, but we will be back next week, 2 p.m. on the East Coast and 11 a.m. here on the West Coast. And that's it. Anything you want to add there, number one?
Oh, yeah. Commander's Log rolls on this Thursday. Check it out on youtube.com/FloboBoys. And if you're into the whole esports Rocket League thing, follow me at NovantaRL. I'm going to be on live with women's car ball action. That's women's Rocket League in just about a half an hour. Check me out over there. It'll be a lot of fun.
I love your commentating work. It is so exciting to me. Personally, I wish it was for wrestling, but I'm really happy it's for esports and they love you and they take good care
good
of you.
idea.
Folks, that does it for this week's episode. Stand into those Tholian webs, everybody, and live long and prosper.